All right. Whew. Oh my gosh. You guys. All right. All right, let me just hang on. Let me get this. Sorry about that, everybody. I wanted to say welcome. Welcome, everybody, to our first ever presidential election 2024. I'm ConnorWood, and I'm hoping you're joining us tonight because we're live broadcasting from the area. Now, we have the polls calling tonight because we are too close for the calls of the polls. And now we're going to be heading to ABC News for the polls. So I'll make sure that everyone knows that we have tonight. We have Pennsylvania showing up, and Nevada's too close for the call. Unfortunately, only ones that have been bid. Now let's head there. Alright. Oh, sorry about that. It was my mistake. How do I put this? I'm going to put this right up there. Put the video capture. There we go. And the collab camera should be right up here. Perfect. Let's go! Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's head to ABC News because I think someone could be one of the largest. I want to make sure to see. All right. So let me go to my YouTube now. I better hit there. I better head to ABC News Live. All right. Let's see. Okay, we got election night votes. ABC News. Okay, come on. I gotta see. There it is. Let's see it. Oh, it's there. Okay. Damn it. My voice cracked. Oh.
With so much at stake in this race for president, every major issue a top priority for tens of millions of American voters, from the economy to abortion, immigration, to border security, Democrats, Republicans, and independents arguing the fate of this country, the future of American democracy, is on the line tonight. At this hour, millions of voters across the country are
still lined up at their polling centers in what's been an unprecedented campaign, highlighting the major differences in a deeply divided America. 86 million Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, already casting ballots before today, either in person or by mail. Let's go right to the map tonight. The polls still open across most of the country. Just after 7 p.m., as I mentioned here in the East, polls are now closed in those 6 states, including the critical Georgia battleground, won by President Biden in 2020 by about 11,000 votes. Here's where we start tonight. Donald Trump with 8 electoral votes, Kamala Harris with 3. There are 7 states you're going to hear a lot about over and over again tonight, our battleground states, the 7 states that will likely decide the Electoral College. Based on polling over the past several weeks leading right up to election night, they are all extremely close as we begin to count the votes across this country. The Democrats in the so-called blue wall of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, they're trying to hold on to that tonight. In the Southeast, Georgia and North Carolina, and in the Southwest, all eyes on Arizona and Nevada. And of course, here is the magic number we'll be talking about all night here and perhaps for days. 270, the number of electoral votes needed to win the presidency. And it's not just about the White House being at stake tonight. Control of Congress also on the line. Take a look. The Senate right now, as you know, where Democrats are in control of the Senate. Currently, they have narrow control, 34 seats in play tonight. Republicans need to pick up just 2 seats to take back a majority and control. Of course, only 1 seat if Donald Trump wins. The vice president would then have a vote. In the House, it's the Republicans currently control all 435 seats up for grabs. Democrats tonight, remember this number, they need just 4 seats to flip the House. Can either party pull this off tonight? And a reminder, we may not be able to project a winner tonight in the presidential race. Of course, that's okay. We're used to that in this country. It doesn't mean there's a problem.
It just means the ballots are still being counted in what
now the ballots are counted.
A very close election.
Our powerhouse political team is here to break this down. They're all in the room with me tonight.
months, that the economy was the #1 issue. But here we see the economy, the second place issue here. Now, it's too early to know the impact of that, but it is certainly significant to note. Followed by abortion, then immigration, and a distant fifth, foreign policy. Now, when we talk about democracy in the United States being on the line, look at this, a whopping 73%. We're talking about 3/4 nearly of those registered voters, again, in preliminary exit polls, these numbers could change, but 73% saying that they feel democracy in this country is threatened. Now, that can cut both ways because, of course, this has been the closing argument for Kamala Harris in recent rallies, saying democracy is on the line. But Donald Trump has been suggesting the same, obviously, for different reasons. Also significant to point out favorability. Donald Trump underwater by 10 points here. You see unfavorability rating for him, 54%, only 44% favorable. While on the flip side, Kamala Harris only underwater by 2 points with a 50% unfavorability, 48% favorable. Now, favorability does not a president make. Just ask Hillary Clinton. 2016, she actually had a higher favorability rating than Donald Trump. And we know how that ended.
But so interesting that those first early results showed that democracy and the state of affairs in this country ranks #1. Again, preliminary exit polls. I want to head over to the big board. Rachel Scott, Rick Klein are going to be at these boards all night long. And if I remember 4 years ago, I think you guys were around until Saturday. But I don't want to freak you out just yet. But Rick, I want to talk about this because we have early vote numbers. Obviously, Republicans and Democrats had significant early vote. I've been obsessed because I've talked to you about this being obviously Kamala Harris's quickest path to 270 right through the Rust Belt. She holds the narrowest of margins in the early vote. She will still need a major turnout on election day. The Trump campaign very aware of that, and they're expecting a major turnout today as well. If she's not able to pull off this Rust Belt, this sweep of these 3 states, how do you get there if you're Kamala Harris?
Yeah, that is the most straightforward path. You're right. There are other ways that she gets there, but it really means some combination of those Midwestern states and some southern states.
Now, you just said before, they're not going to release the project winners until Saturday or Sunday, but I'm going to watch you the entire thing. Let me tell you, it's not the only one, but it's not too late. No, but there might be some states. It's early. It's not a delay, but there's states. Come on, do it. It's done. There. You don't have to. All the ballots have been counted. Now let's release it, the first ones. Here you go, Brandman. No, come in now! I'm not wasting. Come on. Thank you, everyone, but we're just going to end it out. Thank you.
It's the state of Indiana tonight. Rick, you've got the early vote numbers. Let's take a look at that because they're a little different this time of year, this time around. I wanted to explain to our viewers. 4 years ago, we were in the pandemic, right? We're in the middle of COVID. People were being encouraged to vote early, particularly the Democratic side. Donald Trump did not embrace early voting. He actually questioned it. This time, he said, go out and vote early, and it would appear Republican supporters of Donald Trump listened.
Yeah, look, last time 100 million Americans voted early. That's a record, but only about a third of them were actually Republicans. Now that number is up to 38%, and that's just 2 points below the Democrats. So think about that. Republicans were running 10 points behind Democrats 4 years ago. Now that is only 2 points. This is a big factor as well. That's the 22% of unaffiliated. They're either independent or third-party candidates, or they don't identify with any party. We don't know where they're going to break tonight.
Sort of a black box. We have no idea how that number breaks down, and that's a significant number. And if you're inside each one of the campaigns, you're doing modeling and focus groups that shows which way the wave is breaking in these final days. Perhaps these campaigns have a much better idea than we do tonight watching this unfold. What does this mean, though, when it comes to the Republican turnout? It is impressive. The question that the Harris camp is going to put out there is, are these the voters who would have turned out for Donald Trump on Election Day, or was able to bank this vote and then get a whole new crop of Republican voters today?
That's exactly the question. And Georgia is actually instructive in this way, because you can see in 2020, Republicans were about 40% of the electorate. They're only about 39% now. It's about the same. It isn't a huge difference difference, a slightly fewer Democrats as a share. This is fascinating, though, to me, because you talk about those unaffiliated voters. This is the portrait in North Carolina, where we're going to have polls closing soon. 4.5 million people voting early, almost as many as last time. And that is a third Democrats, a third Republicans, and a third, the largest share, actually, are those unaffiliated voters.
It's interesting you bring up North Carolina. I'll take this over to Rachel then, because one of the things that you and I have been talking about these last 24 hours, it was hard not to notice that Donald Trump spent a lot of time in North Carolina in these last 2 days.
Spending a whole lot of time in North Carolina. And David, I was talking to one Republican who told me where these candidates are spending their final days will tell you a lot about what they are particularly concerned about. So North Carolina, a state that Donald Trump won in 2016 and 2020, it's the only battleground state tonight where the former president is on defense. He held 4 campaign stops here in the last 3 days, campaigning in Kinston, Greenville, Raleigh, Greensboro, also over here in Charlotte. David, as the night goes on, as we start to get results, we're also going to be paying attention to this area right here in the western part of the state. This is an area that was really hit hard by Hurricane Helene. Former President Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020 really racked up the vote in the rural parts of that state.
Was there something within the campaign that they were seeing that made them nervous? We see it bear out in the early vote, but of course we just learned that in the last 24 hours. But essentially these two campaigns are tied going into Election Day in North Carolina, and as Rick pointed out, and rightly so, a whole third of the early vote is either independent or unaffiliated voters, and we simply don't know how that's going to break.
Part of this is them knowing just how tight this race is. No Democrat has won the state of North Carolina since 2008. They do not want to give this up. The other half of it, of course, is the fact that Hurricane Helene really ravaged parts of this state. Trump voters in rural counties, they need them to turn out. Now, there have been modifications that have been made, provisional votes that will be cast in some of those counties as well.
As you can